Welcome to another exciting episode of the Show. We are two geeks who talk about everything. My name is Aaron, and I'm usually joined by my cousin Landon.
Wait a
Unfortunately,
minute. Are
he is
you
still.
reading this?
Yeah, I've got a script.
Oh, I was about to say it sounds just like the intro to the last one.
That's right. Yeah, I have to say the same thing every time. And now I've got to do it again.
Yeah.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Show. We are two geeks who talk about everything. My name is Aaron, and I'm usually joined by my cousin Landon. Unfortunately, he is still MIA, which means that our guest co-host Jeff is back to discuss the creepy things in the woods that go bump in the night. Jeff, welcome for another episode.
It is such a pleasure to be back. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I didn't wear out my welcome on the last episode.
Well, I don't know yet. It hadn't posted, so we'll see. Once we get those numbers back from our good friends over at Spotify, then we'll know. But it's already too late. We're recording this now, so today we're delving into the fascinating realm of cryptids. For those of you who do not know what a cryptid is, it's a mysterious creature that may or may not exist. We are specifically looking at Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Sasquatch.
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 Also known as the Sasquatch, in our episode today, but we might look at some other things. But other cryptids you may have heard of are the Chupacabra, Loch Ness Monster, of course, maybe Spring-Heel Jack up in the New Jersey area.
Mothman.
But yeah, we're definitely going to focus on Bigfoot because that's the big one that people know about. Jeff, do you believe in Bigfoot?
I do. He is out there.
You're a believer.
I'm a believer. I have a Bigfoot sticker on the back of my laptop. Just showed you my Bigfoot lamp.
Yes, I test it. It's there. It's true. And I've seen the Bigfoot. Is it it hangs on your rearview mirror in your car, right? Was that still
Yeah, I
there?
don't have that anymore. Sorry.
Oh,
It lost its smell.
did it smell good or did it smell like Harry and the Hendersons?
Like a swampy creature. No, it's like pine scented.
Oh, nice.
Fresh out of the woods.
All right. So we're constantly discovering new species. So who's to say there isn't a large elusive primate roaming the remote forests of North America? You have a story, and you believe that you have encountered the Bigfoot or a Bigfoot.
I don't have another explanation for it.
And I've heard you tell this story before, and folks listening at home, watching this on YouTube, whatever, I'm a believer based on what Jeff is about to share. If you're willing to share your story,
I'm ready.
do it.
All right. So I was in college. There were three of us, all had a date. So we decided to take our dates out to Lake DeGray, which is west of Arkadelphia, Arkansas, before you get to Hot Springs, Arkansas. It is Arkansas's largest man-made lake. It is beautiful, but we went out on a peninsula and drove our cars out there, and there's a parking lot out there. So I'll set this up to kind of help us with some of the details as I move into the story. But when we got there, there's not another car in the parking lot, and you've got to go a ways down this peninsula to get to this parking lot. We saw nobody out there, so we were out there by ourselves. We had gone out earlier that day to set up a little campfire place. So the goal was we were going to have a cookout down there next to the lakeshore with our dates and just enjoy ourselves as a cookout. So we came out that evening, we parked, and me and Dennis, one of my good friends, we traipsed down through the woods to get the fire lit. We're walking down through the woods and we've got a flashlight. And so we get down there and we start getting things set up. And in the distance back towards where the parking lot was, we can hear Mitch and the two girls kind of just way off in the distance, just laughing and stuff like that. So as we're getting ready, and it's dark, as we're getting ready and we're getting the fire lit and stuff, we hear this crash, and we realized that it sounded like either a branch had fallen out of a tree or something. And we both just kind of froze, and we stood up and we kind of looked at each other, and we were shining the flashlight around because it was dusk, wasn't pitch black, just looking for anything that we could see. And we're like, well, probably a branch. So we get to work again. And about that time, something else hit, and then we hear it roll. And about that time, something else hit and rolled. And we realized that there are rocks about as big as our fists, a little bit bigger, being launched out of the woods and hitting around us and just rolling into the leaves. And we thought for a moment, just kind of looked at each other, and just, it was unnerving. We could still hear Mitch and the girls up at the parking lot. And so we start wondering what's going on. About that time, we look up and we see another rock, about yay big, come sailing out of the dark, hit the ground, and scared us to death. And so we couldn't run back towards the parking lot because where these rocks were coming from was like a little bit between us and the parking lot. So what we did was we ran to the shore and started running down the shore to just trying to get a ways distance from it. And then we're going to cut back up through the woods up to the parking lot at a different angle. Of course, we let ourselves at this point get scared. But as we ran the first, I would say 20 to 30 yards, rocks start hitting the water next to us where we're running, like being lobbed and hitting right behind us or right in front of us. And so we are full on scared to death. We find our angle, we take off through the woods, we get up to the parking lot, and we start just yelling, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. So we get in the cars, we leave, the girls are like, what's going on, what's going on? And so we're trying to explain to them as we're panting, as we're driving off. But literally, as we drive back out this peninsula, there's not another single car. There is no sign of anybody else. Granted, somebody could have been camping out and had their fun with us. For a long time, we thought that we were going to get back to campus, start telling our story, and one of our brothers in our fraternity or someone else on campus would say, I got you. You guys look like idiots. Nothing like that ever happened. So it's probably a year or so went by. And I can remember distinctly one day reading about one of the most common associations with Bigfoot sightings is them throwing rocks, is having rocks thrown at you. And that, when I read it, I remember like this chill going down my spine saying, that's an explanation for what happened to us. And so that's my story. I didn't see a Bigfoot, but felt like something was out there. There you go.
See, guys, if you're not a believer after that, I don't know what'll convince you. Because I mean, there are plenty of I don't know, near misses that you see on like where people have posted videos online. And it's like no one gets a clear shot of what's out there in the woods, but there's so many videos of people like they're on their property or they're out camping and they hear something, they see something in the tree line. It's not clear, but it's something big and it's something dark and it's moving amongst the trees. And it's like, all right, we're gonna catch this thing, and they keep looking out there, but like you can make out shadows, and it's like, well, is that something, or is it just like, are we just throwing shadows? And so it's so crazy, but there's you man, that's like I said, that story is enough to make me a believer.
I really appreciate you explaining that better, because I'm sitting here looking at a large plate glass window that normally looks out at my backyard, and of course it's dark outside. So right now I'm a little bit unnerved. I keep waiting for their face to appear on the other side of the window.
See, that's why I keep my blinds drawn. I'm on the third floor. I don't want anything poking their head up here. I mean, that means it's flying. I don't want that. All right. So the legend of Bigfoot isn't just exclusive to North America. There are similar creatures that have been reported in various cultures all over the world. Of course, you've got the Yeti or the abominable snowman in the Himalayas. Australia has the Yowie. So it kind of makes you wonder if there's like this universal fascination that we have of a hidden giant ape man. And even around North America, it's called something different wherever you go. Like most people are familiar with calling it Bigfoot or Sasquatch, but I think somewhere in the southeast they call it the skunk man.
Yeah. Skunk monkey or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. I know skunk's involved somewhere. I guess it's because it smells bad. Um, but they all have those same kind of uh kind of legends that go along with them, like you said, with the stories of people having rocks thrown at them. Now, I do want to ask you this: do you think that going with the belief that this was a Bigfoot or big feet, maybe there were a couple of them out there, were they throwing rocks to scare you away? Were they missing you on purpose, or do you think they might have been trying to attack you?
I I don't think they were trying to attack us if we go with this narrative. I definitely think it was more along the lines of to scare us away as a territorial type of thing.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it was more like driving us away than it was trying to hit us.
Sure. I'd be interested to know, like you said, there were no cars that had been there, and nobody else was around. I wonder if there had been stories in that area and people avoid it because of weird things like that happening, and you guys just weren't privy to that knowledge before you went that evening.
I would doubt it. I mean, even thinking back, I mean, like during peak season, this place is so highly trafficked.
Really?
So, but it's very, I mean, Lake de Grey is very woodsy and remote. So the possibility of a creature like that finding its way out there wouldn't surprise me during the time of year we were out there. Peaceful, quiet. Yeah.
So there have been lots of conspiracy theories. Some people have argued that the national parks program was put into place to sanctuary undiscovered creatures like these. Teddy Roosevelt, I'm pretty sure, was famous for believing in these cryptid type creatures and knowing that they were out there, and so that's why he implemented national parks to exist so that they could be undisturbed, or at least have some limited human interference. But other, of course, there are skeptics out there who just think it's people's imaginations running wild. I mean, how many people have gone out in the middle of the night, you hear something, and just your imagination goes crazy. If you don't know what's going on, that's why reading a book is so much more interesting than watching a movie, because your imagination can
Right.
create these worlds. And if you're lost in the dark, of course I'm going to imagine that some giant ape creature is
Yeah.
chasing me in the woods. Um,
The
but
fascinating thing about people who report sightings of these creatures, particularly Bigfoot, is internationally, it's across socioeconomic and educational levels.
yeah,
I mean, you've got people who are country folk who report seeing these creatures. You have people who are doctors and police officers and renowned scientists who report seeing these things. I mean, your listeners can do a quick search on Bigfoot on Google and just tap on the news. And like literally this month in November, there was a sighting in the UK. And then earlier this year, there's a sighting in Colorado off of a train where a couple and 4 other people saw a creature walking in the woods below the train tracks. So it's like you hear about sightings all the time. There's a famous video from 2015 that's pretty unnerving to watch, that just kind of began making its rounds this year. But it's super easy. Just do a quick search on Google and tap on news and see what happens.
So, but you know about these that have come up, or do you have like a Google alert set up for whenever Bigfoot news hits?
No, I literally will about once a month. I just click and see what's everybody saying. My college roommate and I, Mitch was actually one of the guys out there, but he's in Little Rock, and we have jokingly always said, next time there is a sighting near one of us, we're going to take a couple weeks off of work and we're going to go camp out and we're going to see if we can't have our own sighting.
That's crazy. I don't know, man. I'd be afraid. You get rocks thrown at you again, man.
Yeah.
So apparently, in the spirit of talking about creatures that may or may not exist, Virginia is home to a cryptid called the snallygaster. Have you ever heard of this? The snallygaster?
No, I have never heard of that.
I hadn't until I started doing some research for this podcast, but apparently it's a mythical dragon-like creature. And I'm not sure exactly where in Virginia they say it is. I don't think it's around our area, New River Valley, Roanoke area. But apparently it has so forgive me, I'm going to read this off my notes. Legend has it that German immigrants brought tales of this monstrous creature with them. The snallygaster was said to terrorize the region, preying on livestock and unlucky villagers. It's incredible how these stories have become ingrained in the local culture. Even, all these years later, after these immigrants have been here for hundreds of years, and these stories just kind of happen. Um, it says that some people say they've seen the snallygaster flying through the night sky with its tentacle-like appendages. I've never seen or heard of anything called a snallygaster, but folks out there, if you're listening to this and you're from Virginia and you've heard of a snallygaster or seen it, please leave a comment somewhere because I'm lost on this.
Yeah, it seems like they could have named it something better if it's such a fierce creature, because that just sounds like a bad bowel movement.
We've got a bad case of the snallygaster. I think it was that burrito I had for lunch.
See, it just makes sense.
So, but yeah, I'm a lot more familiar with what of course, Bigfoot, but a lot of the things that they say exist in Appalachia. Like anytime you talk to somebody who's like, for generations they've lived in the backwoods, the small towns of like Southwest Virginia, Southern West Virginia, Eastern Kentucky. Anytime, you know, you'll hear people talk about like if they've heard voices out in the woods.
Yeah.
They're like, do not respond. If you hear whistling out in the woods, do not respond. In fact, don't go out into the woods at night because something is out there and it's going to kill you. And there's just so many scary like stories. Have you ever seen it might be on Hulu, uh this, I don't know if it's a documentary or if it's a like a pseudo documentary called Missing 411.
Yes.
Or you've heard of it, you've heard of the books that this guy's written.
Yes.
I can't remember the author's name, but like he has literally gone and studied like all of these disappearances that have happened all over the country in national parks and national forests, and there is just something mysterious that links them all together, but it's like, what really happened? Because these people disappear without a trace.
Right.
And you know, is Bigfoot, does Bigfoot have something to do with that? Is it something else? Like, what's happening to these people? And it's so interesting to look into these things and study them. But terrifying. I haven't been camping since I was in college, and I don't think I'll be going anytime soon because I've seen too many of these stories now, and I'm just like, I don't want to be a part of that, and I'm not going to put myself out there for a skinwalker to come and trick me into walking into the woods late at night. And I mean, what if I get up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom, and I'm standing there against a tree, and then all of a sudden I'm the next missing 411 guy?
Right.
No, 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 thanks.
I mean, what if you're out there and you're taking a snallygaster and the Bigfoot comes and hits you over the side of the head with a rock?
I mean, I was just minding my own business, dropping a snallygaster. I had my shovel. I dug a hole. I wasn't just gonna leave it out, but I got whacked upside the head with a rock. Just came out of nowhere.
Do you think at some level some of these stories have just been passed down to keep kids from going out in the woods? Like, is it just like some kind of like a cultural folk tale to provoke caution amongst the youngins?
Could be. Could be. Keep kids from going out there and doing certain things that they shouldn't be doing at a certain age. Or maybe it's a property, a territory thing. I mean, not all people out in Appalachia can necessarily read and write. Some people are going to put handmade signs and say, private property will be shot on site. Other people might not be able to do that. They'll just tell stories of snallygasters that guard their property.
It'd be pretty fascinating to trace like the advent of some of these uh, creaturely legends to times of like moonshine and stills out in the woods and things like that, because it makes sense. How can we keep people away from this? Let's spread some rumors of some weird things going on.
That's a good point. It's a good point. All right. Well, that's all we've got. Jeff, do you have any other fascinating stories of encounters with cryptids? Have you met any aliens or anything?
I have not met any aliens.
Last week we did an episode about UFOs. Have you ever seen a UFO?
I think I have.
Oh yeah. All
Yeah,
right, we got time. Tell this story, please,
I'll
because
tell it
I
real
this is one
quickly.
I haven't heard.
I was probably 12 to 14 years old. I was riding my bike with 3 or 4 other of my friends in Marlow Manor in Little Rock, Arkansas. We get to the top of this hill, which kind of you can see out over a good portion of West Little Rock. As we get up there, we happen to look up in the sky, and the typical generic image of a flying saucer is just like a long cylinder with a bubble on top. Well,
Mhm.
we saw a series of those, but they were turned up on their sides and they were blindingly white and they were streaking across the sky. And we literally sat there and watched them streak across the sky for a minute or two, long enough to go, whoa, to turn around and look around and start thinking, should we run home and like try to get a camera or something? And so we had a long enough viewing of what was happening to start thinking about, should we get a camera? Of course, those are the days back before cell phones and stuff like that. But so
Sure.
who knows what it was or what they were, but yeah, they were unidentified for us kids. And I remember we talked about it for weeks after that.
Hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, one of the things we talked about was how we've got cameras in our pockets now, and but there's also amazing things you can do with AI and
right.
and creating false images that look very realistic. So it's like, so are they real or are we just seeing things? But yeah, it's fascinating nonetheless, whether it's cryptids or it's UFOs. Um, Well, it's been a lot of fun talking about this stuff, and a little scary. I'm glad I live in a big city. I'm not going out into the woods anytime soon. Jeff, thank you once again for joining us this week.
Hey, thanks for asking.
To our listeners, our viewers over on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified whenever we post something new. But yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. I've enjoyed being a part of it. I'm honored.
Hopefully, we'll be able to get you on here again sometime. And don't forget, Jeff has his podcast. Remind me what it's called again. Ordinary Celebrity, right?
Ordinary Celebrity.
So be sure to check out his podcast. We'll put his information on the screen, so you'll be able to go visit, and it's down in the description down below. So until next time, have a great whatever it is wherever you are.